The Toyota Camry, designated the V40, debuted in 2006 as the sixth generation of a model that was not very popular in Poland, but was readily available in North America. Therefore, diesel engines have not been installed in these cars since 1991, which was also one of the reasons for its low popularity in Europe. However, in our country, the biggest drawback was the high import fees, customs and excise tax, which were naturally passed on to customers, making the Camry a disproportionately expensive car compared to its competitors. Although it wasn't particularly superior to the German models, its high price gave it exceptional prestige. The V40 generation was the first not to be officially offered for sale in Western Europe. It even premiered in the USA. But it enjoyed considerable popularity in Eastern markets, including Belarus and Ukraine, as well as in Russia. In the United States, it was one of the most popular sedans, while Western Europe had the Toyota Avensis II at the time, intended to replace both the Avensis I and the discontinued Camry. The sixth generation was the first Camry with a hybrid drivetrain. During its production run, the Camry V40 underwent a single facelift, which took place in 2009. The front end, the interior, and the rear, with the addition of LED headlights, were all modified. Engineers boasted at the launch that the new Camry had significantly improved body stiffness and handling. The car features an entirely new platform and a modified suspension. Indeed, owners note that the Camry V40 handles better than previous generations. The car looks elegant, but its design is rather conservative. Its length is 4.8 meters, which effectively places it in the European midsize class, e.g. the Opel Insignia A is similar in length, but it's classified in Europe as a premium class. This isn't necessarily a mistake, as the Mercedes E-Class W211, for example, is only a few millimeters longer. The Toyota is a spacious, very comfortable sedan with a 504-liter trunk. The hybrid has 389 liters, but not luxurious like its competitors. The Camry is roughly on par with the entry-level Audi A6 or BMW 5 Series. Although the cars offer leather upholstery and decent equipment, the initial impression is worse than that of the German models. The platform of this car is front-wheel drive, and the engine is transversely mounted. In the US, it was possible to order a four-wheel drive car, but such a model was an exception and is extremely rare. The suspension was based on McPherson struts at the front and a multi-link rear axle. The Toyota Camry was powered exclusively by naturally aspirated 2.4 or 2.5-liter inline four-cylinder petrol engines and a 3.5-liter V6. The change from the 2.4 VVTi to the 2.5 dual VVTi engine occurred during the facelift. This increased power from 160 to 170 horsepower. The SE trim boasts a boosted engine output of 179 horsepower. A 3.5-liter engine was available throughout its production run. It is also the most powerful Camry in the lineup, 272 horsepower. A rare hybrid variant, based on the 2.4-liter engine, boasts a system output of 187 horsepower. I would like to point out right away that the information provided above regarding power should be treated as approximate, because in cars from the American market, this topic is treated quite loosely. The 2.4-liter engines were paired with 5-speed manual and automatic transmissions. The 2.5-liter engine received 6-speed manuals, while the V6 engines received only 6-speed automatics. In the hybrid drivetrain, an eCVT transmission handled the transmission duties. In the Camry, this doesn't matter much, as every engine is at least good. But if you're looking for a surefire choice, the V6 is it. Four-cylinder units offer reasonable but not excessive power, and are efficient but not overly fast. If you're looking for dynamics, look for a manual. But if you're going with a manual, a 6-speed is best, so it's better to choose a facelifted car with a 2.5-liter engine. Four-cylinder engines consume on average about 10 liters per 100 kilometers, although with a manual gearbox and sensible driving, you can get down to about 9 liters per 100 kilometers. The V6 engine is, of course, more fuel efficient, consuming around 14 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers on the highway. But conservative mixed driving will allow you to achieve a figure of around 10 to 11 liters per 100 kilometers. A few more interesting facts. The V6 engine is the 2GR-FE design, a unit that has survived almost to this day, until recently installed in models such as the Lotus Evora and Exige. The engine also found its way under the hood of the Toyota Sienna and Highlander, as well as the Lexus ES and RX. The 2AZFE engine, a 2.4-liter unit, is less well known in our market, but was installed in models such as the third generation of Avensis. The 2AZFXE designation uses the same engine, but operates on the Atkinson cycle and works in conjunction with an electric motor in a hybrid system. It wasn't available in any model offered in Europe. Equally less well known is the 2ARF, a 2.5-liter unit, which was installed primarily in vehicles for the American market, although in Poland it can be found under the hood of the less popular Lexus ES250 from the 2012 to 2018 model years. The Camry's biggest, and really only major problem is, unfortunately, corrosion. The car rusts rapidly, naturally from the bottom up. Many examples require major bodywork repairs, though owners may be completely unaware of this. Even in nice-looking cars, it's essential to inspect the floor, sills, lower edges of the doors, and wheel arches with a lift. It's worth checking under the trunk floor, under the floor mats, and the plastic wheel arches. If the owner allows it, also inspect the upper shock absorber mounts. The front ones are visible when you open the hood. Any neglect in this area can result in expenses running into the thousands of euros. This is precisely true, as bodywork repairs for a single component often cost around 240 euros. If you prioritize maintaining a good mechanical condition and plan to keep the car for a long time, it's best to find one that's been garaged for years. It should last for 500,000 kilometers. When it comes to engines, you should be careful when using the Camry 2.4. It is a very durable and trouble-free engine, but sensitive to overheating. The cooling system should be inspected once a year, preferably after winter. After purchase, it's best to clean the radiator, and if it's damaged, replace it with a new one. A good quality replacement costs 95 to 120 euros. It's also a good idea to check the lines for leaks. If the engine overheats, a standard head gasket replacement and cylinder head planing may not be enough, as the head bolts could strip out of the block. The second problem with the 2.4-liter engine is excessive oil consumption, but this doesn't affect every model. To remedy this situation, owners replace the piston and ring assembly or just the rings. If the car is still running and has a mileage of over 200,000 kilometers, it's safe to assume the engine isn't suffering from this ailment. This engine has a timing chain, but it's not very durable. Replacement is typically required between 200,000 and 300,000 kilometers. The kit costs around Euro 120 to 140. The timing chain has mechanically adjustable valve clearances, allowing for relatively safe and trouble-free operation on LPG, but it's not recommended to buy a car from someone who doesn't know how to adjust valves. The 2.5 engine is the successor to the 2.4, and it's significantly improved. It doesn't suffer from the faults that plague older cars, and in fact, it can be considered completely trouble-free. It's also less demanding in terms of maintenance, as the valve clearances are adjusted hydraulically. The timing chain is more durable, but it's worth replacing as a preventative measure after about 300,000 kilometers. The 3.5-liter unit is the least problematic, although it's worth keeping a close eye on leaks. Oil can sometimes leak through the system that feeds it to the radiator. You also need to consider replacing the timing chains, one main and two short ones. The kit costs around 360 euros to 480 euros, depending on whether the kit includes variable valve timing gears. Replacing these parts will be more expensive, as the engine is mounted transversely under the hood. Should we be afraid of hybrids? You have to be very careful, even though the drive itself is practically trouble-free. The inverter is the most common cause of failure, but this isn't a major problem for a service center specializing in hybrid repairs. A bigger problem may be the low population of this type of car, which can make access to some parts difficult. You can always save yourself some money by purchasing parts from the US or the East. Knocking noises coming from the front axle area are often blamed on the steering rack, which, however, is not improved by reconditioning. Often, the steering shaft joints are the culprit. A replacement will cost around €50 to €95. The gearboxes, both manual and automatic, Aisin, are trouble-free. All you need to do is change the oil. Suspension maintenance isn't expensive, and virtually all parts are readily available. The front control arms have replaceable bushings and pins. The only thing that can complicate suspension repairs is chassis corrosion. A major problem with the Camry, though it doesn't affect its mobility, is its lighting. While the rear lights usually fail due to a damaged beam, the front ones are simply worn out. The reflectors and lenses are in poor condition and don't illuminate the road well. The only remedy is to replace the lights with new ones. Interestingly, replacements approved for the European market cost around €95 to €120 each. The Camry V40 may surprise you with its spare parts availability. Not only is almost everything readily available, but the prices are also reasonable. If you're having trouble finding something less common, it's worth checking with an authorized service center, which may have parts for less popular models on sale, which in practice can mean relatively low prices. Another source is the American market. The Camry was incredibly popular there, so parts availability isn't a problem. You just have to wait longer for delivery.